Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and today I just wanted to talk about the meta sum because there have been some really interesting developments and some really cool deck lists that have seen play at some recent tournaments. We're going to be taking a look at, I guess, let's see, I want to take a look at, there's a regional event this weekend, but then there are also two late nights, and they've had some really interesting decks. The regional is like not that big for an IRL regional, but still 900 people, almost 1,000, so that's pretty good. It's obviously bigger than online events generally, but pretty much always. But then it's not massive for a regional, but a decent size. And then we also had these IRL events that had this one 183, and this one uh, had 257. The late night does this weird thing where they break it up into two tournaments on the same night at the same time, but they're not at exactly the same time. They're like a few hours off. I don't know how many hours off, but it's kind of strange. I don't know if it's for different time zones. It probably is, but it's kind of weird because it's not like 12 hours difference, which would be obviously ideal for like different time zones. And you can see like top cut here. We have like Japanese players in both. We have Americans in both. We have like all sorts of places. Obviously, you can play whenever you want, but you'd rather play during the day or like at night. You don't want to play at like you don't want to start the tournament at like 2 a.m. That would kind of suck. So anyway, we're gonna take a look at those. Oh, I keep messing up the There we go. We're back. Yeah, Chrome recently changed its thing. I don't know what's happening. It like minimizes it, but doesn't minimize it. If anyone, it happened in my last video too. Sorry about that. If anyone knows why that happened, so I'd really appreciate it if you told me that, or if there's a way to change it. I don't know what's going on there. But let's see. When was the other late night? Was that like a previous late night? I don't know. We won't take a look at that. That was a little while ago. Yeah. So there've been a few interesting decks. The first one I want to talk about is this quote unquote new deck. It was played by someone, I believe by just one person in this regional. At least one person making it. I guess this is day two. Limitless is sometimes weird, but yeah. And then it was played. It made top cut at this event as well, one of the late nights, and we've seen some other decks. Okay, yeah, that's a different deck. So I believe these are the same 60. I don't actually know, but I assume they are. Looks like they're slightly different. So this one ran Zinnias. This one runs. What else? What's the difference here? I'm playing Spot the Difference, and I don't know what it is. Is it an extra switch? No, it looks like um it's a lost vacuum. Okay, so not a huge difference though. But the main idea, I'll take a look at the one with the zinnias because that's cooler. This was, I think, the IRL one. It doesn't really matter. But so I'll take a look at it like this. This is a little small, so I'll go in on the individual cards. But this is Lost Zone, and this is a really interesting Lost Zone. I mean, Lost Zone's generally, it's not always interesting, but sometimes it is. I think this build is really cool. We see a lot of different things that I want to talk about in this list. Notably, we see one cram, and obviously for Comfy, but that's it for like the regular Lost Zone package. We do have Radiant Ninja as well, but we see a lot of one-ups, and we obviously see Sue and Heavy Ball as well, but we see Cram, we see Roaring Moon, Iron Hands, Glen Moltres V, Raikou V, Tropius, Minior, Radiant Greninja. First of all, I want to say Radiant Greninja without waters. I don't love it. The energy type here is like super weird. We have Dark Lightning and Grass with no water, no Psychic. No Sableye is kind of weird. There is no spread element at all to this list. No way to hit the bench at all, which is kind of weird. Obviously, bench sniping can be very powerful. Some sense this deck has a little bit of the element of surprise, where your opponent's probably planning for Jirachi, planning for Sableye, planning for Radiant Ninja attacking, so they are going to bench Jirachi or Manaphy, which is a thing. But I don't think it's like a huge deal. I don't know. It's definitely something you wanna. If you play IRL, you probably have in the back of your mind though. And so that's pretty interesting. That means it's gonna get worse. You're gonna certainly probably by now you don't have the element of surprise. And not all Lost Zone lists certainly attack with Radiant Greninja. Not all lists attack with Sableye. Most lists attack with one, but not all of them. And then we see that we have the Minior as well. That's counter to Snorlax. Let's see how much Snorlax was. How much Snorlax is in these metas. We saw, where is it? Wow, it's surprisingly low. It's only 1%. And then this tournament, it's only, is it higher? It's at like 2. So we got like 2% play rate for Snorlax, which is pretty low, honestly. Overall, it's slowing down. I wonder if it's being banned. I don't think IRL or online events are banning it. I haven't seen anything about it. I assume it would be here. If it would be somewhere else, that'd be interesting. But so let's see. I'm not sure. I'm looking at like slow play stuff. Because sometimes that gets like weird for like slow playing and stuff. You guys like playing control isn't slow playing by definition. It's not always slow playing, and it's usually not. But certain tournaments put into rules that do favor against control. IRL events are notorious for doing this, but certainly online events can as well. But maybe people are just playing it less. So that brings the question: is Manure necessary in the deck? Especially this list where it doesn't run a ton of switch. So Manure is more important against like Lost Zone and against Snorlax. So the menu is pretty interesting here, but it's not like that compared to the rest of the stuff. It's not that interesting. So yeah, no Sableye, no Radiant Greninja, kind of weird, but it's fine. Obviously the deck is focused more on other types. So we got Roaring Moon, we got Iron Hands, we got Glaring Moltres, we got Raikou, and we got Tropius. Tropius is really interesting here. We got Tropius, which hits Rally Back, hits 120 for 2. If one of your Pokemon was KO'd last turn, or 100 for 3. 100 for 3 is okay, honestly. It's not great, but it is usable. Actually, it's pretty hard to use because you only run 2 grasses, but it's not an awful attack. Rally Back 120 is good. With weakness, it will be one-shotting Roaring Moons. But if Roaring Moon either has a tool, or if you're up against Charizard, you need super effective glasses plus Rally Back to one-shot. This is interesting. Charizard is being played pretty highly. WoW is the most played deck here. Yeah, so it's seeing a lot of play right now, like 13% play rate, 14 almost. So in that sense, I get Tropius. I feel like Tropius is a little weird. Roaring Moon also like one shot. It insta kills, right? So Roaring Moon insta kills. Obviously, you damage yourself a lot as well. So it's kind of weird, but I do think Tropius isn't super necessary. It's the only grass type attacker, and it's kind of weird. So I don't know what I think about Tropius. Obviously, it does have some value, but it kind of needs super effective glasses as well. I don't know how I feel about it. Honestly, I might rather see Shaman as well in a list like this, but I think you go either way. But then we see the Glaring Moltres V and Roaring Moon. So Roaring Moon one-shot, which Roaring Moon's a really great partner for Lost Zone. It's not perfect by any means, and I'd probably rather do Giratina. I feel like the Roaring Moon takes the place of Giratina. Glaring Moltres V is different as well. It powers itself up. I mean, you rely less on Mirage Gate to power it up. Or you also have Raihan. So, but you don't need those to power up Glaring Moltres, or you could, you could use them to work with Glaring Moltres because it powers itself up with its ability, but also its attack isn't that good, and it's not like you're energy switching or anything like that. So, honestly, I don't think Glaring Moltres V is that good, but obviously it has some value. It's a pretty decent mid-range attacker. And then Roaring Moon is obviously an incredibly good mid-range attacker with Calamity Storm. Assuming you have a stadium in play. List does only run 2 stadiums though in towns, 2 copies of Town Store. Which to me, Town Store is a really weird stadium, but I'll get to that, I guess. Frenzy Gouting is very good. Calamity Storm is also pretty strong. Yeah, I don't hate Roaring Moon's inclusion, but I feel like Glaring Moltres is a little weird. Obviously, to justify the dark energies, and this is a dark energy focused list with 5 darks, 2 lightnings, 2 grass, and 1 gift. Gift's interesting as well. There are a few weird like draw choices and just engine choices in general, which are probably just personal preference things that I would not recommend just copying this list. I copied it and like messed around with it some, but like Zinnia's isn't for everyone, Gift isn't for everyone, but I'll get to that. Then Iron Hands, Imp You Very Much is obviously very good. Raikou V is also pretty good, a very good mid-range attacker. It's your weakness. Can draw. The draw is actually pretty solid. It's a V as well, allowing you to activate Force Seal Stone. And obviously you don't have access to Dragonite because that does water energy, which is kind of weird. This is a bit of a different take, obviously. It's not completely different either. You still have the Force Seal Stone. You still have the a wide variety of energy types as well. So Iron Hands is super good. Roaring Moon's also super good, but then Raikou's pretty solid. But Glaring Moltres feels a little weak. Tropius feels a little weak. I don't know, it's a little weird. Honestly, I could see dropping Glaring Moltres and a Roaring Moon for a Giratina line, which is getting more normal. But this deck does some interesting things. The Zinnias and Gift Energy. Gift Energy, if it KO'd, you draw till 7, and then Zinnias is discard 2, draw 1 for each Pokemon your opponent has in play. I think these are cards that are good cards. They draw lots. Um, and then some people like them, some people don't. I personally like both of these cards. I think they're pretty good. If you don't like Zinnias, if you don't like Gift, don't play it. But and you can play more as well. Zinnias is a little weird because obviously Lost Zone's relationship with supporters is kind of weird. We see Kovis, the main supporter that actually activates the engine, and then Boss, previously the secondary supporter in essentially every Lost Zone deck now kind of being replaced by Countercatcher. But it's super strange. And then you have Raihan here as well for additional energy acceleration, which also pairs with Mirage Gate. And also Lost Vacuum to enable Lost Zone faster, so you can get those cards in the Lost Zone. Zinnias is a solid draw supporter. I'm not saying it's not, but oftentimes in that draw supporter slot, you will see disruptive draw supporters. Probably not Judge, but you could play Judge, but then Roxanne and Iona are often in that spot. So if you just want to play like a more, quote, normal list, I'd say drop Zinnias for Iona or Roxanne. But Zinnias is not like a bad play if you like Zinnias, play Zinnias. The deck doesn't have that much discard synergy, so I don't think that's super necessary. Gift Energy is also interesting. Lost Zone tends to have larger hands, which is a little weird. Gift Energy is a draw and kill card. But and then again, in the late game, if you got Ionode or Roxanne, having Gift Energy kind of gives you a bit of a safety net, meaning that if your opponent chooses to KO that Pokemon with Gift Energy attached, which they probably will, because if they're Ionoing, they're not bossing, so they would need Cross Switch or Counter Catcher, which they could have, but they very well may not. And if they don't, then they're leaving your Pokemon with energy attached still alive. So you'll essentially always be in a decent spot with Gift Energy, but you only run one, so you need to know when to use it, and you can't even always choose to use it at the right time because you obviously Lost Zone stuff, you can discard stuff. So it might not be available to you when you need it, especially if you're getting disrupted every turn. But then we get to the engine. Pretty normal stuff mostly. 3 Rod, I like 3 Rod, obviously a lot of 1-ofs, you need more rods. History and Heavy Ball, super important in a deck like this. We see Town Store with Forest Stone. Town Store to me feels super weird. Obviously Forest Stone is good, and that gives Town Store value, but then super effective glasses aren't that good. You're hitting 3 types for weakness, I guess 4 with Minior, but like that you're not, right? That doesn't matter. I guess Minior can matter against Snorlax, but like let's be honest, like that doesn't matter that much, and Snorlax isn't even that highly played or that good. Like you can beat Snorlax anyway. So I feel like super effective glasses is not that good, and you're not running cards like TMD Evolution. You're only running 1 Force Seal Stone, which I guess is okay, but like I feel like TMD Evolution would be super good. Another stadium would be nice as well. I don't know what you'd play. Maybe it is the best stadium, but I feel like TMD Evolution would get a lot of value in a deck like this. Actually, maybe not. You don't have Sableye or Radiant Greninja, but you do have Iron Hands. You could get a little value out of it, but not too much. I definitely think Team Delusion is like just a good card in general in Lost Zone, though. Punishing stage 2 base decks, you can kind of beat those with like Roaring Moon and Tropius and stuff, but it doesn't feel amazing. So I don't know. I feel like Town Store feels a little underwhelming. It doesn't provide a ton of value, but obviously it is a path bump. But like, what's path stopping Radiant Greninja, Glen Moltres, and Raikou? But like, they're not amazing abilities. I mean, like they're good. Some of them are really good, but like they're not make or break points in your deck. So I don't know. Obviously, there are other stadiums that could cause problems. But you have Vacuum. You can vacuum away Town Store as well, which like feels a Lost Zone. But I don't know. I'd probably play something different. Anyway, this deck's not bad. I'm not like picking it apart saying it's bad. I'm just saying some interesting decisions. But the deck is branded on regular limb list as Lost Zone Paradox. Oh, okay, someone else played it as well. So let's take a look at this. And this is only IRL. Okay, and this is not. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I was like taking this in. I was a little confused. So it runs mostly normal stuff. We see Dragonite, Iron Hands, which Iron Hands is not that weird in Lost Zone, and Roaring Moon isn't that weird either, but them together is a little weird. Radiant Greninja as an attacking option. We see as well Kyogre. Kyogre as like the mill thing where you have Recycler and I guess higher counts of Rod. You don't necessarily need 3 Rod in this list. Then we don't see any Sableye either, which is kind of interesting. So this, I do think Roaring Moon and Iron Hands together are pretty solid. Obviously, it's not really using the Paradox mechanic either, which is kind of a weird name for it. But only 1 counter catch. Like you don't have any Gust, which is kind of sketchy. And we only see 4 switch, I suppose. Or sorry, 8 switch. So it's like 12, which you might see. But I guess you probably wouldn't play 12. I'm too used to looking at Iron Valiant. Speaking of Iron Valiant, let's actually look at Iron Valiant and see if it's doing anything crazy right now. Um, I'm clicking on like all the wrong tabs, and we do see Iron Valiant with Entei, and Entei Iron Valiant. This deck's in a weird spot right now. We have obviously the Gradient Charizard is really nice. It's arguably one of the best attackers in the game, and it has been since it came out. But also it's competing with Radiant Greninja, and it's just kind of weird. It is good in this deck, but we do see 2 Metachams, 3 double turbos as well. So Metacham as something you can use multiple times, which is really interesting. I don't know if that's good or if it's like not. And dropping an Entei as well, but the list doesn't matter too much. We just see TM Evolution as well. I'll say that. Potentially giving Arvin some legs. I don't know. Anyway, so I think Entei Iron Valiant. Obviously, it can be low HP decks that have like weak Pokemon in play, and it can be high. It can be like mid-range, high bench damage. Like it trades evenly with Entei. Entei's a pretty classic mid-range attacker. You have like compared to like Raikou and Roaring Moon and things like that. So you can trade pretty well, pretty like fairly with those. But I don't know, just a little weird against those mid-range to high-range style attackers. Because you can't do massive amounts of damage. You have Iron Valiant to boost that, though, and this is obviously like a 12 switch deck. Well, more actually. It's more than 12 switch, but yeah, I think it's solid. It's actually my go-to deck right now. I guess it's actually glitched in live as well, or it was. Oh, 2 Squawkabilly is a little weird in my opinion, but no, it's doing Heavy Ball, which is fine. Yeah, I don't know. I think the deck's in an okay spot. It struggles. Let's see, what's its matchup? Um, what do its matchups look like? And obviously, the matchup pairing isn't like perfect, but it's useful. So it struggles against Charizard, obviously a big HP Pokemon, especially if you're not running the Team Devolution. That will cause it'll be a very difficult matchup. It can be Gardevoir because they lower their HP and you can like do stuff like that and you can annoy them. Right on Flaaffy you beat. I will say I do think Rapid Strike energy and like dropping one of these double turbos for Rapid Strike would be really nice in Medicham. So you can hit him right on for weakness. Roaring Moon, you beat Roaring Moon like damage itself a lot. They can avoid that, but then they're not necessarily one-shotting your Entei. There's a big weird matchup chart thing going, or a big like there's a lot of stuff going on in that matchup. Nothing too crazy, but you just like Roaring Moon doesn't want to kill itself, obviously. Um, and you have like a pretty weak Giratina Lost Zone matchup though, because Pokemon like Giratina, like what do you do against it? You can't really one-shot it. You can maybe, but you need to like put a lot of effort into one-shotting it. And you're kind of relying on a powerful Radiant Charizard play all of a sudden, but then obviously Giratina Lost Zone has some versatility. It's just good, right? It's just a good card. Or a good deck. It's arguably the best. And then you can pick apart Lost Zone though with your Medicham. So Medicham's super important. Entei's fine, but honestly it doesn't do too much, and then you do kind of rely on Radiant Charizard. So it's a deck that like doesn't have a ton of power. Obviously, doesn't hit that hard. The other top deck that I want to talk about is the big one is Charizard. Charizard's seeing a lot of play and doing really well, and there are lots of different ways of playing it. So let's just take a look at all these top cut lists. So we got ourselves this one, and I definitely looked at a bunch of Charizard lists on my channel, but I want to take a look at them again and just like analyze like how they're doing. So we got ourselves a bunch of Pidgeot. I do think Pidgeot is better. It gives you more consistency, versatility. I don't know quite the right word. It depends how you play it as well. You do see Minior. Minior is nice. We don't see Minior in this list, though. This list is much more simplified. But in the Pidgeot list, we see Minior, we see Rotom, we see Lumineon, we see Mew. We see a lot of stuff. I see Jirachi as well. I will say Jirachi, you should always play Manaphy before Jirachi, generally. And in pretty much all these lists, like play both, which is fine. Then we see like the Charm Rider split. Charm Rider split is up to you. But yeah, obviously Rotom is nice at giving you extra draw as well as Lumineon. And giving you the access to Force Seal Stone, which is nice. Because Force Seal Stone activates Arvin. I will say playing Arvin, like 4 Arvin, with 3 tools isn't great. Defiance Fan, Vitality Band, and Force Seal Stone's super good. Defiance Fan and Vitality Band are okay. Like they can swing the math and Choice Belt as well. And you see actually Justified Gloves for like the mirror and certain things, which is kind of fun. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like Defiance Van would probably be better than Justified Gloves. They're a little different though. Um, and I don't think Choice Belt's super necessary either, but obviously you want to get as good math as you can. So, the deck has a lot of like versatility. It's starting to kind of settle down on a build right now. People are generally leaning towards pitch up, but you could run barrel. So a barrel a TM list, it is not. So surprisingly, it actually runs a lot of Charmeleons or multiple Charmeleons, and it runs obviously the barrel. But then you have Radiant Charizard. I do think Radiant Charizard is a good Pokemon still. Yeah, this list runs Radiant Charizard. You can get a lot of good value out of it. I mean, it's a single prize, which is super nice. None of these lists are running Entei either, which is kind of interesting. Obviously, Entei can be good, but I mean, it's a two prize. It's kind of weird. I said earlier, mid-range attacker, like Charizard with its like high HP. So a lot of the time you're better off attacking with Charizard, but early game Entei could be nice. I do think the stadium split gets a little complicated in certain decks. Like running one Lost City specifically is a little sketchy. As you don't get a lot of value out of it. It's probably going to be play one turn and then get like ditched. So you're not generally going to be able to make these like big power plays with Lost City as opposed to decks with like 3 or 2 Lost City. Even 2, you're not necessarily always going to make them, but you can, and you need to keep your opponent on their toes. Because like Lost City cannot like lost on multiple big targets that now your opponent is like down in a really bad position. But anyway, it's also good like neutral stadium. Although it can cause problem for you, like Radiant Greninja obviously getting lost on would not be good. Manaphy Trash getting lost on could cause problems against lost on as well. Although we recently just looked at a lost on deck that doesn't run either. Yeah, Charizard EX is still like super good. Yeah. Oh, also, if you want to hear my thoughts on the Lost on Partners, that video, I recently released that video, so you can find that. Wow, Urshifu Inteleon, I did not expect to see that doing this well. So Urshifu Inteleon is a really interesting deck. There's actually a new Remoraid. I don't think a lot of people realized until like recently. Which admittedly I am at fault for that as well. I did not. I like forgot that there's a new Remoraid. I wasn't paying enough attention. It is like essentially directly better because you're not going to keep calling and you're never really going to attach Rapid Strike Energy to it because like why do you do that? This list actually runs a split. I do think this one's better. It doesn't really matter like at all, but yeah. So nothing too crazy going on with this deck. Turbo's Scenario is a nice addition. This runs what 2 Melanie. I guess it's not too crazy. I guess this one also does, but yeah, obviously TM's a nice buff. Turbo's is a nice buff as healing. Turbo is essentially a replacement for the Cheryl, and then we see Radiant Eternus in this list, which is really interesting. A very nice way to end up your turn 1 going first. You can also Turbo Scenario Radiant Eternus back to your hand, although Radiant Eternus isn't really that much of a liability because it has 170 HP on a basic, which is a lot. A basic single prizer. So that your opponent's not like looking to KO it. You do have switch out, so they can try to gust it, but you do have a rope and a Turros. You can't necessarily super reliably hit them, but you will be able to get them semi-reliably. You have Horse Stone, and you obviously have some amount of draw. You don't have the strongest engine. You have Squawk Ability, which is kind of engine-y. And then you have, obviously, Octillery, which is very engine-y, but does not grab Turros or rope. So, yeah, and then let's see. These other lists, anything crazy going on with them? No, I do think Radial Exam is good. It does allow you to do certain fancy combos. Luminia is also nice. It obviously can grab Terros. It's another out to Terros. Although this list runs one less, Force Seal Stone. So you can play around with their counts as you like. I do think starting Lumineon is kind of sketchy. And then one thing I do want to look at the win rate of this deck. Is that I believe it has a really bad Mew matchup. I'm assuming its Mew matchup still very bad. Where is this deck? There we go. Okay. Excuse me. Yeah, Mew's not great. There are a few Mew builds, and yeah, this is pretty rough. So I'm not sure exactly where I stand on like individual tech cards, but I do think Drapion is pretty good in the deck. It's not like the end of the world if you start it. But obviously can cause some problems. But it's you can win if you start it. It's okay. But Drapion is so important to beat Mew. Maybe Mew's like a lost cause, but I think it is beatable if you do run Drapion. And then we also see A Psychic Energy. Psychic allows you to attack with Radiant Alakazam. Psychic does hit weakness on it in the mirror. It does a number of things. It's a really interesting card. I don't actually think it's useful in open list. I think it's better in closed list because, and these are open list tournaments, by the way, but open list does mean that your opponent will know that it's coming. They can like plan around it. It can be used to, of course, psych them out, but I don't think that's the use of it in this deck. It does some like weird stuff, like Mind Ruler. It does, for those of you who don't know, 20 for each card in your opponent's hand, which can be very good. Oftentimes it's not that good, but can threaten big plays if your opponent uses straight up draw supporters. So yeah, and then we see, I don't know, the deck's pretty straightforward. Is honestly, it's changed some, but it's still, it does what it does. I do think a 2 Earthen Vessel is not necessary either. I'll say that, but of course, counter up to you. Yeah, but it's definitely a threat. And then in this other turn we saw another threat, the classic, which is gonna be Miraidon Flaaffy. So Miraidon Flaaffy is interesting. Are these like okay, this is that build. This is the peony. No, okay, it's not like the peony turbo build. It's like kind of turbo-y. We see higher counts of energy, I guess. Like 16 seems kind of high. It's not like absolutely absurd or anything, but it seems a little high. 2/2 Flaaffy, which is fine. I guess it's pretty normal with just one rod. This doesn't run any rod. Oh, wow. Okay. So Flaaffy is a little vulnerable. I probably would throw a rod in, as it does. It puts more question into your opponent's play on open list, but most people aren't playing open list either. So yeah, and then here we see Path. I do think Path is kind of important for this deck as well, and then we also see let's see, Mew EX as well as the pivot, which is fine. Doesn't really matter. But then we do see 2 Iron Hands in both of these lists. Obviously, you are kind of leaning more into that with the higher counts of Lightning for Electric Generator and Peony. And then we also see this list running Double Turbo, which allows you to attack with and be very much faster for like not donk plays, but faster like turn 1 at 2 prize turns, which can be a very big deal. So I think this is an interesting build. I'm not the honestly biggest respecter of this deck. I think it's okay. What's his matchup spread look like? I don't know his matchup spread super well. Where is it? I've lost it. It's 4th. Okay, so it beats the Guardy. It loses to Zard. Like I feel like you still lose to Zard. Obviously, you do get this like turn 1 pseudo donk, like extra prize, which can be nice, but I don't know. I'm not the biggest respecter of this deck. Its win rate is it's okay. 48, which is it higher than its mirror win rate? Let's see. It's like at its mirror win rate. It's a little higher, but it's essentially the same. So it's an okay win rate. The mirror win rate, if you don't know, is it's not 100, it's not 50%. It kind of arguably should be. It's kind of weird how they Limitless does win rates. It actually changes depending where you look, depending how you really calculate it. But because there are ties, those they're not wins. So this determines tie rate. Ties are often due to IDs, which a discussion for another day. But ties, so that it makes the data a little more annoying to track. But the ID rate will mean that like all these top decks don't have 50% win rates because of ties. That's part of why. It's like Charizard probably has a 50% win rate. Yeah, Charizard has more wins than losses, but its win rate's still below 50% by a notable margin. Anyway, let me see. But Giratina like has a high win rate, and Chimpao does not. Chimpao is still pretty solid, but it's a bit of a weird deck. We see Mew. I don't really feel like looking at Mew, not gonna lie. And then we see more Zard. We see Lost. What is this? This is Lost and Radiant Charizard. Lost and Radiant Charizard is kind of interesting. Obviously, it is Lost Zone. It's often run Roaring Moon, but it doesn't have to, and it does run Sableye, and it does run, obviously, Radiant Charizard. I think the deck's pretty solid. It is another way to play Lost Zone. And Lost Zone, obviously, I'd say Lost Zone is definitely one of those decks where you want to kind of do your own thing. The other deck I do want to look at is actually going to be Cloth. This is a Cloth, Sune Electrode, kind of box. I don't know if I call it a box deck, as it's pretty straightforward. As you either do Cloth for Sune Electrode or Hisuian Electrode V. There's not really any like other thing you do. But then you also run. This is kind of weird. It's kind of almost turbo-y. This person did well, but then they run Iron Valiant as well. I'm not sure why this deck is classified under other, to be honest, but Cloth Hisuian Electrode is also up here. It's a pretty good deck. So I think it's one worth respecting, but I don't think it's the best or does anything crazy. Oh, there's a Gudra list. I had nothing too crazy here. Just wanted to take a look to see if it was. But then we see the Shadow Rider list. I'll actually get to the Shadow Rider list later. Then we have Palkia. I think we should also talk about Palkia. Got a few lists. Are these the same list? These are pretty similar. Not quite identical. I'll just look at this higher one. It doesn't matter. So yeah, we see Palkia, we see Ice Rider, we see Chimp House, Suicune, Radiant Greninja, Lumineon. You can attack with Lumineon, but you probably don't. I wouldn't hate Starmie in this list either, but I guess you don't really need it. And Mew obviously can do some stuff. It's like a pivot like Starmie. Starmie V, which is also hits for more for each energy they have, but yeah, it doesn't matter. So yeah, Suicune again, a mid-range attacker, just like Entei and Raikou. They have the same attacks. They have essentially the same HP, and they have different retreat costs, but the same ability as well. So Suicune fits perfectly fine in this deck. Also very similar to Palkia. Palkia, obviously a bit more HP, also a bit more damage, but similar attack. And Ice Rider, even more HP, and I mean, I guess it gets more. I can't. I'm sorry. My mind's thinking too fast for my mouth, but or maybe I'm speaking. I don't know. I'm tired is what I'm saying. But yeah, Ice Rider generally probably hits more than Palkia, but at max damage, Palkia will hit more. And obviously Chimp can hit more than both of them. So, but not the whole game and not as consistently. I think Palkia is worth respecting. Obviously, let's see, is there like decent data on it? Yeah, okay, there's some. And I'm assuming it's Miraidon matchup. Wait, the number one deck it's run into is Miraidon. That's rough. Obviously, Miraidon is not a good matchup. You do have Ice Rider, which will help, but it doesn't make it a great matchup still. Yeah, so it's not a great matchup. The deck's not doing too hot. It's not like pure garbage or anything. It can definitely be like having just solid mid-range attackers, mid to high-range attackers, so like Palkia, Ice Rider, and Suicune, is really nice, giving you pretty decent matchups and a lot of consistency, honestly. So yeah. Then we got the last deck that I want to take a look at today is going to be Shadow Rider. Also, if you enjoy this more loose style discussion style video, comment that down below as well. Like the video as well. That is I don't check I check them some. I used to not check them at all, but now I check them some. So that is a way to like tell me that you like something. But then you also get to it just it supports the channel as well. I guess I don't know how the YouTube algorithm works, but I appreciate it nonetheless. So then we got Shadow Rider. Shadow Rider is a classic. I guess it's not good now, but it was good. But it might actually be good now. Underworld Door is the same thing as Zadu's ability, where you accelerate to your bench and draw cards. Yeah, Max Geist, which hits for some damage. Nothing insane with Shadow Rider, but it is an accelerator. My big question, is it better than Zadu? So then we see a few other options. I mean, a bunch. We see Lunatone Solrock to give extra damage and to stop Path. So this is the big thing. Oh, and this is a Path. I didn't even like look at this deck too hard, but it's a Path deck. Well, okay. Espeon, Mewtwo, Radiant Alakazam, Mew EX. Like, this is looking pretty cool. So we got Espeon, stop the effects of attacks, which is pretty nice, and then you also have your ability, or your attack to do more for each energy attached to all your opponent's Pokemon, kind of like Starmie. You have Mewtwo V-Star hitting up to 270 for 3, or 2, but you need 3 energy, which is pretty nice. You have Star Raid to spread, but you have Force Hailstone. You'd probably rather be using that. You have Radiant Alakazam. I talked about that earlier, but it's good as an attacker, and obviously its ability. Mew X to copy an attack and free retreat, and you got good stuff here. So pretty versatile deck. This deck went 9-4-1, which is good. They miscut. I don't know. I don't play in tournaments. So yeah. Anyway, and then they have the Lunatone Solrock. Solrock accelerates to Lunatone, which doesn't really do anything. But I mean, it boosts your damage, but you're not attacking this guy. Probably you could. 100 for 3 is not like the worst. But if you have Solrock in play, though, prevent all effects of Stadium stun to your Pokemon in play, which stops Path, which you play. So you want a Path, and then your opponent is like, I can't use my abilities, but you still can. So yeah, and Avery, you know what I think about Avery. Avery, bad. No, Avery has some value, but Cheryl is interesting as well. Like, you're probably gonna be discounting a lot of energy with this. You have Switch, but like, I don't know. Cheryl seems kind of weird. I feel like Turo's Scenario would be better. Maybe not. I don't know. The deck seems like it has some weird consistency issues. Like Avery is not a very good draw supporter. Iono is good and Research is good, but like I don't know, four and two halves draw support is like five draw support is not very good. So I don't know. It seems a little sketchy, but you do have Mew EX, and obviously Shadow Riders help those draw as well. That's part of why you run Avery. Like you wouldn't be running Worker. I'd probably rather run Faulkner than Avery. Um, but you know, there's some options. But anyway, I think the deck's pretty solid. I don't think it's great. I'll probably try it out. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing. It really helps the channel. And I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna hit 1,000 subs. Hopefully soon. I'm not that close, unfortunately, but I'm kind of close. And I'm so thankful for all your support. I'm gonna do some. I got some really big content ideas planned. Actually, I don't have big content ideas planned. I'm in the process of planning the big content ideas. I'm looking forward to those. I might do an edited video. I might do like a sketch style video. I did one with like the Scarlet and Violet cards. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.